Right.
Hi, I'm Susan Appel with the Indie Learning Team, and today we have with us Chadwick Gillenwater, otherwise known as Professor Watermelon. He is a children's book author, a creative writing instructor, and otherwise amazing person. So thank you for having a conversation with me today.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited about this.
Before we jump in, can you tell us how you became Professor Watermelon?
Oh, well, a long time ago in a faraway land, there was a baby born. His name was Chadwick Justin Gillenwater. That's me. And my mom and dad thought that they would name me that special name, Chadwick Justin Gillenwater. And so they thought that I might become maybe the president of the United States or something important like that. But that's not what I wanted to become. Instead, I became a school librarian. And I moved very, very far away to a place called Seattle, Washington, which was about 2,000 miles to be exact. And I worked at a little school there, and I was the school librarian there. And one student came running in one morning and she said, "Mr. Watermelon, I mean Gillenwater." And I was like, "Ah, is that what you guys are calling me out on the playground?" And she said, "Mm-hmm." And I was like, "That's okay. I think that's a funny name and I like it." So instead of being called Mr. Watermelon, I decided that when I started writing books for kids that I would be Professor Watermelon. And then the rest is history. That's how I became Professor Watermelon from my last name, Gillenwater.
I love that
So did I
story
become
because
the president of the United States? No, but I became a children's book writer. And something that I think is even more important than being the president is spending times with kids and inspiring those children. So
yeah, and I love that story so much because it shows your point of view towards interacting with kids, how you just embrace their curiosity. And you have been a long partner of the Indie Learning Team. And I remember when we were just starting out in community centers and we were so excited to go in and do a program, which I don't even remember what the program is, but I do remember walking out because it had just failed and feeling so disappointed. And we're standing in the dark parking lot. And you turned to me and said, "We're not going to give up for these kids. We're going to find a way." And we have found a way, even in a global pandemic. I mean, through all of our challenges, but that has been a guiding principle, and you have been positive and instrumental. And I'm so grateful for that personally and for the Indie Learning Team. But I'm interested in how that worldview shapes your work as Professor Watermelon.
well, I think that showing up and not giving up is really about 3/4 of the work. And if you can keep that mindset and that attitude, then you know that just showing up and not giving up is really the job, and the rest is the program or what you're trying to implement. And that's something that I've loved about the Indie Learning Team is that, and especially with you, Susan, because you do not give up. And when something does tank or fail, you try something different. And if that fails, you try something different again. And also, what I love about the Indie Learning Team is that the focus is never on the failure. The focus is always on moving forward. And I think that's why it's a good fit for me. And I think that's why it works. So, as Professor Watermelon, I'm very lucky to get to do what I love doing, and that's simply, inspiring children to find their voice. And that's exactly what the Indie Learning Team is doing as well, is helping children find their voice and their unique place in this big world, and making it fair and giving the opportunity for everybody. And I love that about the Indie Learning Team, and that's why I'm so happy to be part of it.
Yeah, well, we love working with you. And in your creative writing sessions with the kids, you often say, "No struggle, no story." And I think that that's true for us as adults. In every story, there's a struggle, and we can embrace that and always find a way. You know,
Yes, if you think about any time you read a book, I mean, if the solution is on page 2, then It's not really a story. And I think that's really why we like to read books, is because, or stories, is because it resembles life. And if there is no struggle, there is no story. And really, that's exactly what life is about. It's a struggle and the story of overcoming and again, not giving up. And that's what I love about the Indie Learning Team, is that how many years are we in with the community
We're in
center
6 years
programs?
in community centers.
Right. And here we are, and
Yeah.
it's working.
Yes, yes, yes. And, to that point, kids love you. It is often that I walk in someplace and they say, "Oh, where's Professor Watermelon?" And the other day, a staff person told me about your Zoom creative writing, that she didn't know who liked it more, the students or the adults. So tell me about that mutual exchange of energy and creativity that you have as Professor Watermelon.
Well, I had a pretty difficult childhood. However, there were always so many caring adults around me that made me feel special and that I felt important and loved. And I've never forgotten that. There was my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Davis. She kept up with me until I went to college. Um, Not just educators, people in my family. I had a great aunt who I called Nanny. She would spend hours and hours with me, teaching me how to draw flowers. And I realized that it wasn't really what she was teaching me, it was that she was spending time with me, and that she saw me, and that she believed in me, and that I mattered to her. So as I've moved forward with my career with children, I don't even really look at it as a career. I look at it as spending quality time with human beings. And every child is a whole person. And I look at them as a whole person and a whole human being that I can spend quality time with. And I can look into their eyes and see that they are a whole person and that they're excited and they have something to share. And then I see that reflection of me and them and me, and it's just this like circular kind of energy. And once you get into that, it just keeps going. So I think I've been really lucky to see that and to understand that, and to continue that in my work. And it doesn't even feel like work anymore, because it just feels like what I was here to do.
Yeah, and you can feel, when you watch you do a creative writing or story time, you can feel that exchange. And it is something you've even been able to take onto the live Zooms you're doing now. And kids still, it's not the same as in person, but they still feel that exchange and energy and excitement to be with you.
And I was worried about that. I was worried that Zoom or these virtual situations would not be as, impactful. But I believe that human beings want to connect. And since we haven't been able to connect in person, this is the second best thing. And it provides that opportunity for connection. And we've we rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, the indie learning team kids love doing creative writing with you and story time. You, as you said before, you encourage them to use their voice and find their
Mhm.
voice and their creativity. What do you see as the importance of kids writing? And to be clear, you're doing kids writing with kindergarten on up. So we're talking about little kids. And what do you see your role in that with them?
Well, really, while it's creative writing, I see it as a way of simply self expression. I think the written word and the spoken word is how human beings communicate. And the sooner children learn how to do that, the better communicators they are, the better they are at establishing or articulating their feelings. And when you can establish and articulate your feelings, then the world seems to be a little bit easier to navigate. So while we call it creative writing, it's a lot more than that. It's communication, it is self expression. I tell children, and this is something that I absolutely believe and feel that is true, is that every single person has a unique imagination. And my imagination, your imagination, Susan, every child's imagination is the only one like it in the history of the universe. So that's important. That's some deep stuff. And when children realize that I have something right here in my mind that nobody else has, I need to use it. I need to create with it. There's the possibilities are limitless. And that's what I like to, remind children or remind everybody is to use that thing that we've been given, this imagination, this mind that's powerful. And the other thing is that when you learn something, no one can take that away from you. Like the more information, the more knowledge you put into your mind, and then you use that knowledge to create with, nobody can take that from you. It's yours forever. So I think it's just powerful. I think that creative writing is a special way to show children that they are unique, that their voice is unique, and that that they have something to offer to the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love seeing that in person. Kids who are struggling to be able to write, working so hard to share their story with you, and then the excitement they feel when you validate their idea, however it is articulated. It's powerful.
Well, and uh, in creative writing programs with Professor Watermelon, we don't focus on the grammar or the what's right or wrong. And that's because we're hoping that children find the joy in creativity. They can learn how to put a sentence together, or they can learn all the structures of a right sentence, in language arts. But if they don't find the joy in writing, they won't want to learn language arts and how to put sentences together. They'll feel stifled. And that's what really creative writing is all about, is finding the joy in writing so that you're inspired to learn the rules in class.
Well, we are so grateful for you and the joy you bring just on a regular basis, a light you've been for our kids during a pandemic and every day. And if people want to find out more, they can go to professorwatermelon.com,
Mhm.
and you do story times and creative writing in all different communities. And we're so glad to have you in our community.
Oh, I am so excited that our work continues. And I can't wait to go further down the road with the Indie Learning team.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.